You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
And Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
And we are back. Hi, Autumn.
Hello, friend.
Hello, friend and listeners.
We are here to tell you guys two unfortunate cases.
That's right. Two unfortunate cases.
I'm really excited for you to hear this one.
Well, that's good. Mine's really long. I'm just warning you ahead of time because it stretches a very long span of time and multiple murders. I'm doing a serial killer this time.
Okay.
And
you got my attention with serial killer because before she said that, I was like, dang it, Erin, am I going to fall asleep? But the mention of a serial killer, I am intrigued.
In case you were wondering, Autumn is sleeping through most of my cases.
Sometimes you might hear a little and then I'll wake up. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I have to edit that out.
I do not fall asleep. Her cases are very interesting. I was just giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
I am excited for you to hear mine because it's an international case and you usually do those.
That's true. And I'm local.
Old-timey.
What?
I know. You're going to freaking love it.
You're stepping on my toes?
I knew for a fact you would not have covered this one, though.
So there's children dying.
Nope.
Really?
Yeah, but I know for a fact you wouldn't have covered this one.
Too famous?
Nope.
Now I'm curious. Now I want to know.
You'll just have to wait until your super long case to hear mine.
Sorry about it.
But you're not sorry about it.
Not even a little, no.
Oh my gosh, I just have to say that our reel, the one about it's always the husband, and I posted you and Josh's wedding picture.
You sure did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have gotten so many messages.
She just texted me out of nowhere and was like, hey, can I get a picture of you and Josh from your wedding? And I was like, for why? And she said, I'm not telling. And so that's what she sounds like. And then
I also told her, you either send me one you like or I'll use one I have.
Yeah. So I sent her one. And then about 10 minutes later, a reel pops up to ask me to be a collaborator on, saying it's always the husband with a picture of me and my husband on our wedding day.
Poor Josh.
Poor Josh. Poor me. What if I got murdered?
I don't ever foresee it being Josh. Let's just be real.
I mean, out of the two of us.
Out of the two of you, it would be you 100% of the time.
I literally have a knife tattoo on my arm. Because I wear my knife on my sleeve.
I mean, Josh is so unbothered by almost everything. That he's not going to kill you.
No.
He hasn't killed you yet. He's not going to kill you.
Honestly, by this point.
Yes.
Hopefully nobody.
Home stray animals, all the dogs, all the cats. Like, I mean, you guys.
And the bugs.
And the bugs and the spiders.
Yep. I like them all.
He's in it to win it.
Except for the gecko. I'm not so keen on the gecko, but that's Lucy's, not mine.
What was the gecko's name again?
His name is Dune, and he is a crested gecko, so the ones that have little spikes on them.
Do you still have Blanche?
The Taranch? Of course.
I didn't know how long those kind of
So she is a curly-haired tarantula, and she will live to be somewhere around 20 years old, 15 to 20 years.
Oh, heck no. That means that's how long I can't go to your house.
Yeah, so I have a tarantula. She's very spicy. They said that she would be a very calm and easy first tarantula for someone, and she is not calm at all. She is very violent. And gets mad if I do anything in her terrarium.
That's making me really love tarantulas.
She pretty much just stays in the hole that she dug. But when I put water in, she'll like get mad and like threat pose me sometimes. And
Sounds like a
she comes
loving
out.
relationship.
She comes out like every 3 months, and I throw crickets down the hole and they don't come back. So I assume she's eating them. And then eventually,
I assume she's eating them.
I remove when she molts. We take out her molts and we put them in a jar, and we have a jar of her old outfits.
That's not weird.
Not even a little. I love it.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
Well, they molt, like once a year.
Yeah.
Or she does at this point, now that she's older. She molts like once a year. And when it's crazy because she gets kind of like a brownish tint, but once it comes off, she goes dark, deep black, and her hair is like longer, and she looks gorgeous when she first comes out.
Yeah, I'm not into
And they molt off their fangs.
Okay, this is creepy.
So the fangs come completely off and you see them, and then they're white right afterward. And then they they turn red, like filled with blood. And then they harden, and then they're black again. And then they're fine for all of the eating and everything. So once they molt, you can't feed them right afterwards. We have to wait a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. But the first time she molted was literally at Halloween, and she had red fangs. I was like, dude, it's like she's doing this on purpose. I love it.
She was. She's one of your animals. They are definitely matching your personality.
I don't know that Ravioli's anything like me.
Because he's Josh's.
Yeah. And Ethel, our big dog, she's got a lot of personality.
Yes.
A lot of energy. A lot of energy there.
Energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. More energy.
More energy, please. And Lucy loves telling everyone, I'm Lucy and this is Ethel.
Well, when she was little.
Yes, it was so cute.
Now she's a preteen and everything I do is cringe. So that's it.
At least she's kind to us. She humors us.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time.
All right. I do need to get into this because it is a long case, and I do want to get
buckle up,
all of it.
Ready to go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Me and my squeaky chair.
Motherfucker.
Just saying. I mean, if it's a long case, I might have to shift a little.
Sounds like a Yin Yang Twins song, editing Autumn's chair.
Yes. Sorry, I will try not to move.
Barely move.
I'll give it my best.
All right. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to be doing the case of Sharon Kinne, a.k.a. La Pistolera. Sharon Kinne was born Sharon Elizabeth Hall on November 30th, 1939 in Independence, Missouri, to Eugene and Doris Hall. The family were devout members of the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a denomination in the Latter-day Saint movement. By all accounts, her parents were very removed from her, and she was very much on her own. She was also known as being a bit of a loner in school, sometimes teased for having acne, and was known to be a teller of tall tales. Not necessarily saying that people called her a liar, but they definitely were saying she exaggerated stories a lot.
Like somebody else we know.
No names are given.
None. Mysterious.
She had no one guiding her, and she was lonely. Not the best combination. When she was in junior high school, Sharon's parents moved the family to Washington State because of rumors that Sharon had apparently married a man, and he died when his truck went over a cliff in Idaho when she was in junior high school. I can't find any evidence to support these rumors, but when she did marry her first husband, quote unquote first, she listed herself as a widow. She never elaborated, and again, I can't find any details about it, so what we know is by the age of 15, she had returned back to Missouri. That means that she had to have married this guy when she was 14 or 15. So in the summer of 1956, at age 16, while attending a church function, Sharon met James Kinne, a 22-year-old student from Brigham Young University. She was described as independent and confident, whereas James was shy and emotionally immature, which makes sense when you think about the age gap and maturity of their ages of 16 and 22. why they would get along, as she's more mature and he's less mature. She approached him after noticing that he had been watching her all night across the room. The couple dated regularly and were inseparable until James returned to BYU that fall. I think Sharon saw James as leading to a possible escape from her small town. She wanted to live more glamorously, and this town was not it. The more that James fell for Sharon, the more people around them became weary of their relationship. Moreover, Sharon. James's father said that he didn't like how she, quote, played him like a marionette. Even though James was older, Sharon definitely had the control in the relationship. When James went back to school, Sharon became anxious that she would be forgotten or left behind. She then wrote James a letter that said, "You are the first man I've ever given myself to totally, completely, and without reservation. Maybe it's wrong, but I feel no shame. But now, the sins of the summer have produced a child in my womb. I don't expect you to sacrifice your education or return to independence. I'll handle the situation. At the very least, I'll look upon the child and be reminded of the only man I ever truly loved." Now this was gaslighting and manipulation. James believed the letter, and though they weren't completely in love, he was a religious man, and Sharon knew that he would make this right and official. So they got married on October 17th, 1956. James, his father, and Sharon went to the Jackson County Courthouse to apply for a marriage license. Once Sharon had secured her future with James, her attitude underwent a noticeable change. James Hayes, who wrote the book on the Sharon Kinne story, said, "She no longer shared complicity in the pregnancy, but blamed the child on him alone. She angrily reminded him that his lust interrupted her college and hinted at having been through all of this before with another man." The marriage license was approved, and the two were married in a small ceremony held in the Kinne home, and the newly married couple returned to Utah, where James was going to college. Now, do you think that Sharon was happy in her wedded bliss?
No.
No, she was not.
I got it right.
Wait, you woke up for that part.
I did. I was paying attention.
Mm-hmm. She and James fought constantly, and she complained about everything from their housing to how much James was studying instead of taking her out. She was a master manipulator even at age 16. James, because of her distraction and their fighting, was not able to keep up with his studies. James left his college and they moved back to Independence. So this kind of backfired on Sharon as she was trying to get away from the town that she was in. James' parents rented a house for them next door to theirs. They moved in and things did not get any better. Sharon hated being next to her in-laws even though they just rented them a house. His father didn't like how Sharon treated James from the beginning, but his mother tried to see the best in her. She took her on shopping trips, helped out when they were short on bills, and would take her to lunch hoping for a friendship. Sharon never reciprocated this, but she did take the money, gifts, and food.
Of course she did. Of course.
Sharon got a job, in fact, many jobs, getting bored and moving on to the next. She would also not contribute the money that she made to the household because it was hers and she earned it. But she would spend beyond James's budget.
Of course she would. What the heck?
Yeah. It was getting to the point where Sharon should start showing in her pregnancy. Do you think she was pregnant? Because no, she was not.
Oh. Okay, that's super shitty.
It was all a ruse to get what she wanted, another manipulation. So James came home one night, and I'm going to do a quick trigger warning for people with pregnancy loss. Even though this is a faked miscarriage, hearing about it can be traumatic and frustrating for anyone who's struggled with infertility. But it was all made worse when she tells James that the miscarriage started at the beginning of the day and she couldn't get a hold of him because of his job, saying she was unable to reach him by phone and she couldn't tell him sooner. Essentially, she was making it out to be his fault, and in some way, he was blamed for the faked miscarriage. This is a
Because he was
cycle.
at his job that she needs him to have so she can spend his money? Mm-hmm. Cool, cool, cool.
This is a cycle of abuse that we will continue to see throughout these cases. In 1957, Sharon gets pregnant for real this time and gives birth to their daughter, Dana. But Sharon's taste for the finer things never stopped. They built a ranch-style home and moved in. James worked the night shift, and in the daytimes, Sharon filled her days with shopping and other men. By the time the couple had their second child, Troy, Sharon was carrying on a regular affair with her friend from her high school days, John Boldese. And remember that name because it's going to come up a lot. By early 1960, James was contemplating divorce. Babysitters seemed to be the ones raising the kids more than Sharon was. He was pretty sure he knew she was having an affair, and any love that there ever was simply gone. He spoke to his parents about the possibility of divorce on March 18th, 1960, telling them Sharon agreed to give him a divorce if he allowed her to keep the house, the couple's daughter, but not their son for some reason,
What
who
the heck?
who was a baby at the time, and that he paid her $1,000, which would be around $10,700 today. But his parents, being devout Mormons, urged James to stay in his marriage. Sharon, too, was thinking of ways to get out of the marriage. According to John Boldese, she once offered him $1,000 to kill her husband or find someone that would, although he later claimed that she might have been joking. Might have been, probably not.
I cannot.
On the evening of March 19th, this is the day after he talked to his parents about the divorce, according to Sharon, at around 5:30 p.m., she heard a gunshot from the bedroom where her husband was sleeping. She ran into the room where she found 2.5-year-old Dana on the bed next to her father. Dana was holding one of James's guns, a .22 caliber high standard semi-automatic target pistol, and James was bleeding from an apparent gunshot wound to the back of the head. She called an ambulance, but sadly, James was dead upon arrival to the hospital. Police were unable to recover any fingerprints because the gun was covered in oil, and the neighbors and friends said that James often allowed Dana to play fight with his guns. And in a test by investigating officers, Dana proved to be able to pull the trigger on a gun matching one that had killed her father. That means police took a 2.5-year-old into a room, gave her a gun, and asked to see if she could pull the trigger. That is wild to me.
I'm in disbelief.
A 2.5-year-old also blamed for the murder of her father.
Super, super believable.
Yeah. Without any other information to go off of, the police deemed this an accidental homicide. I think they leaned a lot on the fact that neighbors and friends said that he would play fight with the guns in the house. Even though the police did not believe the story, as James was napping and not playing with the 2-year-old and the gun was loaded, they didn't have enough evidence for anything else. They also didn't test Dana or Sharon for gunshot residue because they believed the test would have been unreliable. But I really wish they would have, because I think they would have had a lot of answers in that. The investigation into the death closed. James Kinne was buried, and his wife collected on his insurance policies valued at $29,000, which would be the equivalent to a little over $311,000 today.
In my opinion, no one's life is worth that.
Sure not, but given what Sharon has been going through, she was going to leave that relationship for essentially 10 grand in our time.
True.
Now, Sharon did what any parent and grieving widow would do 1 month after her husband died. On April 18th, she walked into a car dealership and bought herself a Ford Thunderbird. While she was there, she met Walter Jones, the owner of the dealership and husband of Patricia Jones. Walter and Patricia were high school sweethearts, and they had 2 kids. But Walter had another thing, a wandering eye, and Sharon had just caught his gaze.
Oh, Jesus.
The two started an affair. Surprise. Sharon thought he could be a possible future husband for her, but Walter made it clear he had no intentions of leaving Patricia. When Walter declined to go on a trip to Washington State with Sharon in May, she knew the relationship was on the rocks, so she told him she was pregnant and he was the father.
Oh, this
Only,
woman.
only Walter did not do what she had hoped. He did not leave his wife. Instead, he ended the affair. According to Sharon's testimony, on the afternoon of May 26th, she contacted Patricia Jones at her office and told her that her husband was having an affair with her sister. When she agreed to meet that evening to discuss the matter further, she said she would drop Patricia off near the Joneses' home. You know, being a girl's girl, helping her out, telling her what's going on with her husband. Alas, Patricia would never make it home again. Walter filed a missing persons report with the police the next day and began calling people he thought might have seen his wife. He got a lead when he spoke to friends of Patricia's who carpooled with her. The friends told Walter that Patricia had said she had gotten a phone call earlier that day from an unnamed woman who wanted to meet with her. The occupants of her regular carpool had also mentioned seeing the woman who was waiting for Patricia in another car after work. They didn't recognize her, but they did provide a description of the unknown woman to Walter. He immediately recognized the woman to be Sharon Kinne, and he called her. She admitted to confessing an affair and meeting with his wife that day. She said when she dropped her off, she saw Patricia talking to an unknown man in a green 1957 Ford. Walter was panicked. He grilled Sharon for more information, assuming she wasn't telling him the whole truth. He even admitted to seeing her and holding a key to her throat in a threatening manner.
Oh, man.
After that happened, she said that she would try to help by looking for Patricia with a familiar character, John Boldese. Within hours of speaking to Walter, they had not so shockingly found the body of a woman in a secluded area approximately 1 mile outside of Independence. According to Boldese, he had been the one to suggest searching that particular area because it's a spot where he and Sharon used to go on dates before. So the location was very well known to Sharon. It's odd that once threatened, all of a sudden she managed to find a body that everyone else couldn't. Strange.
Mm-hmm.
The body, dressed in a black sweater and yellow skirt, was soon identified as the missing Patricia Jones. She had been shot 4 times with a .22 caliber pistol. She had 1 bullet wound through and through her abdomen, 2 penetrating gunshot wounds to her shoulders, downward through her body, and the fatal blow was a shot to the head entering in near her mouth. Powder burns were found on the hemline of the skirt, indicating that the gun had been fired from close range. Initial reports and investigation placed Patricia's time of death at approximately 9 p.m. on May 27th. She was buried on May 31st. Investigators brought in Walter, Sharon, and John Boldese for questioning on May 28th. Walter and Boldese both gave written statements admitting to have been dating Sharon, and both agreed to take lie detector tests. Sharon only gave an oral statement to police and declined to sign a written statement or to take a lie detector test. Both men were deemed to have been truthful with their statements. They did bring in Eugene, Sharon's brother, but he declined to answer any questions. Investigators tried to recover the bullets from the scene by bringing in local Boy Scouts to look for the missing bullets and the bullet shells and the gun. Boy Scouts.
I was just about to say, what a random choice.
You know, small town. Got to use what you got.
I guess.
Hey, guys, let's get our crime scene investigator badge. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, honestly, I wonder what that badge would have been.
I have no idea.
Like the helper badge or...
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's crazy.
A .22 caliber rifle slug was eventually found buried in the ground. The police drained several bodies of water, but were unable to find the murder weapon. The police theorized that Patricia had been attacked elsewhere and then transported outdoors. Sharon Kinne was arrested in her home for the murder around 11 p.m. on May 31st, the same night as Patricia's funeral. The same day, the Jackson County Sheriff requested that the prosecutors consider a second charge of murder, this one for the death of James Kinne, her first husband. Sharon's lawyers filed a writ of habeas corpus with the court the next morning to challenge whether it was lawful to keep her detained. And a hearing that afternoon resulted in her release on $20,000 bond, while she waited a preliminary hearing originally scheduled for June 16th. She was detained again as the trial got closer. Investigators were able to rule out that the same gun was used in both murders. But a man that worked with Sharon admitted to having secretly purchased a new .22 caliber pistol at her request in the beginning of May. This woman. While searching her house, the police did not find the gun, and Sharon explained she lost it on a trip in Washington State, that the gun simply disappeared.
Because, guns have legs and walk around and just go missing.
Yeah, and then you don't file that it's missing. It's whatever.
No big
The body of Patricia Jones was exhumed on June 17th in order to collect the bullets that may have been left behind from the original autopsy, as well as to gather samples of tissue and stomach contents if possible. Sharon was originally denied bail during this time, but the Kansas City Court of Appeals struck down the ruling based on circumstantial evidence and released her on $24,000 bail, which is approximately $257,000 today.
Oh, wow. So that's like a hefty amount.
Yeah, I mean, she's on trial for murder.
Yeah, that's true.
Then the trial date was delayed for Sharon's pregnancy. She gave birth to a daughter named Marla Christine on January 16th, 1961. Sharon was charged for both murders, but tried separately. The prosecution rested its case for Patricia Jones on June 21st after calling 27 witnesses. Sharon's defense took less than 2 days and involved 14 witnesses. Sharon did not testify. Instead, her team focused on breaking down the state's claims of motive and means, arguing that Sharon had no reason to kill Patricia Jones and that the .22 caliber pistol she was alleged to have owned had not been found, so they can't prove that that was the murder weapon. After slightly over 1.5 hours of deliberation, the jury, citing just too many loopholes, literally in quotations,
nice,
left the prosecution's case and found Sharon Kinne not guilty.
Oh, shit.
Immediately after the delivery of the verdict, juror Ogden Stevens asked Sharon for her autograph, which she was photographed giving to him. This was big news. But good old Sharon was not done yet. She returned to the jail the same day to await her trial for the murder of her husband, James Kinne. The prosecution relied heavily on the connection between the murders, so her acquittal was damaging. They also used the theory that she stated that she was willing to pay to get her husband out of the way, and John Boldis testified, no, she was just joking about that. The defense focused on the circumstantial quality of the prosecution's evidence, noting that the prior police investigation had determined James Kinne's death to be, in quotations, obviously accidental, because the 2.5-year-old shot him.
I mean, that sounds super... Honestly, shooting a gun is not easy, and aiming it and then being able to kill somebody, like, come on.
I mean, again, they did test that she can pull a trigger, but still. The jury wasn't fully decided, but the trial ended in a conviction on January 11th after 5.5 hours of deliberation. In April of the same year, she was formally sentenced to life in prison. She was guilty.
Shit.
I know. She began to serve her sentence at the Missouri Reformatory for Women. Despite the verdict, James Kinne's family continued to believe the best in their daughter-in-law, telling reporters on the day of the verdict, "We can't find it in our hearts to say anything bad about her, and we still don't feel she committed the murder." She blamed the murder on a 2-year-old, on her 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah, on her own flesh and blood.
And the parents are like, she's probably fine. But remember, the mother was really trying to like be close with her, trying to find the best in her, being a good Christian woman.
Yeah, this is making me want to barf.
Also, she gets even, we're going to hate Sharon a little bit more now too, because there was one female juror on this case and she low-key blamed her for convincing all the men in the conviction.
Stop it right now.
Yep. Yeah, she totally did.
She's not a girl's girl.
No. The next week, Sharon Kinne's lawyers requested that she be released on bond, supported by a community petition signed by 132 supporters of her innocence. The motion was denied on the basis of it being a first-degree murder and not a bailable offense. How this woman keeps bamboozling people is beyond me. Sharon and her lawyers tried to appeal the case several times and was denied the opportunity for bail in May 1963. But the ruling was overturned in July, and Sharon was released on $25,000 bond, roughly $260,000 today, and that was posted by her brother Eugene. The state's request that the Missouri Supreme Court reconsider the position on Sharon Kinne's conviction was granted. But in October 1963, that hearing resulted in further grounds being found for a new trial, this time on the basis of the prosecutor having been allowed to cross-examine a prosecution witness. Sharon and her children moved in with her mother and awaited the start of her new trial. Convicted to life in prison, then gets out on a technicality and is now awaiting a second trial for the murder of James Kinne.
This woman.
I know. Her second trial for murder of James Kinne began on March 23rd, 1964, but due to a long jury selection and finding out the partner of a prosecutor once had been retained by one of its jurors, it was declared a mistrial. So now we're on to Sharon Kinne's third trial for murder of James Kinne. It began on June 29th, 1964. Assistant prosecutor Donald L. Mason declared at the jury selection that he intended to death qualify the jury. That's something I'd never heard of.
I was just about to say, did you mean disqualify? But like you said, death qualify.
It's a process in which a prosecutor challenges any juror who automatically opposes the death penalty, essentially because he was going to try for death penalty for her. And I didn't know that that was ever a process that you could do, but it's the 60s and that may have changed. The jury selection once again took a lot longer than expected. It was 12 hours for them to decide the jury in one day. For the first time at any of her trials, Sharon took the stand on the last day to issue a categorical denial of charges. The all-male jury deadlocked 5-7 in favor of acquittal in this trial, resulting in a second mistrial. At the fourth trial of the death of James Kinne, I know. At the fourth trial at the death of James Kinne, it was now scheduled for October 1964. Sharon was living with her mother and kids and employed part-time at a motel. However, she decided to quit her job, claiming it would allow her to spend more time with her kids. You know how Sharon is. She just cares so much about them.
Dude, I'm over Sharon. She's on my list.
So she went down to the employment office to apply for benefits. It was at the employment office in August 1964 when Sharon first laid eyes on Frank Puglisi. He was having some trouble filling out paperwork, and sweetly, Sharon offered to help him.
Run, Frank. Run fast.
They immediately started dating.
Oh, God, Frank, it's over for you.
Remember, Sharon is awaiting her fourth murder trial right now. But by September 1964, while Sharon was still free on bond, she traveled to Mexico with her lover, Frank, leaving her children with James Kinne's father, and traveled as Frank Puglisi's wife, going under the name Jeanette. The couple later said that they had come to Mexico to get married. Under legal terms, Under the legal terms of her bail, Sharon was permitted to leave the country.
Are you kidding me?
No. But her contract with the company that posted her bond prohibited her from leaving Missouri without written permission from the company's agents. So she was in trouble for going over, but it was not part of her court bail.
Wow.
I know. After crossing the border, the couple registered at the Hotel Gin, again as husband and wife. And I shit you not, but Sharon said that she felt unsafe in a foreign country, so she brought along her pistol, which meant that the couple now possessed multiple guns, having brought one or two with them from the United States. On the night of September 18th, 1964, Sharon left the hotel without Frank, either to acquire money because the couple was running low or to get medicine that she needed. That was not specified what kind of medicine it was for. I think that was just her excuse.
Would make sense.
That's when she encountered Francisco Paredes Ordonez, a Mexican-born American citizen, at a bar one night and accompanied him back to his room in the Hotel La Veda.
While she's with Frank?
Mm-hmm.
This woman doesn't care about anybody.
According to Sharon, she went to Francisco's hotel room to look at photographs he had offered to show her. But soon he began making sexual advances towards her, and she was forced to fire her gun at him in an attempt to protect herself. She was so scared to be in another country, but now she was venturing off on her own, going to a hotel room with a stranger. This does not add up.
Right. I feel like this woman just has like a need to kill.
Well, we will see. Sharon maintained later that she had no intention of killing or harming Francisco and had only intended to scare him. But the bullets struck him in the chest and killed him on contact. Responding to the sound of gunfire, hotel employee Enrique Martinez Rueda entered the room. Sharon then fired at him, hitting Enrique in the shoulder. Wounded, he ran from the room, locking Sharon inside and calling police. The police did not believe Sharon for not 1 minute. They believed that she was actually there to rob Francisco for money and shot him when she didn't get her way.
I'm glad somebody's finally seeing the real Sharon.
And again, she is awaiting her trial for murder of her first husband right now. Police arrest Sharon Kinne on charges of homicide and assault with a deadly weapon. She doubled down on the fact that she only wanted to frighten Francisco after his advances and worrying that she was going to be attacked. That's the reason why she shot Enrique, the hotel worker. Police searched Sharon's purse and found... Autumn, are you ready for this?
I'm listening.
Police searched Sharon's purse and found a gun and 50 bullets. 50? Uh-huh.
Damn, girl.
I mean, if you were just scared, why did you have 50 bullets with you? Like, why would you have 50? That's a heavy ass purse. Like, why did you have that much firepower?
50 bullets is
that's
an enormous,
that's why they think
amount of bullets.
That's why they think that she was there to rob him.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then they went to the couple's hotel room at the Hotel Gin, and they found 2 more guns and another massive supply of bullets. Authorities took Frank Puglisi into custody and initially held him without charge and later filed charges for entering the country illegally and carrying an unlicensed gun. The gun found in the couple's room, are you ready? Was
always ready.
Was later proven through ballistics to be the same gun that killed Patricia Jones in 1960.
Stop it.
But because Sharon had been already tried and acquitted for that crime, she could not be charged again because it's double jeopardy. Can you even?
One of my favorite movies.
Can you even, Autumn?
I can.
She absolutely.
Sharon's not surprising me anymore.
The couple were arraigned on September 26th and held for trial. In October, Sharon's attorney asserted that Mexico was violating her constitutional rights by holding her for a shooting committed in self-defense, which we don't believe her.
Not for one single second there, Sharon.
The request was denied, and both Sharon and Frank were tried in the summer of 1965.
Why was Frank tried?
So, because he entered the country illegally and
That's
he
right.
had unlawful firearm. Frank Puglisi was cleared of his charges against him and was deported back to the United States, while Sharon was convicted of murder on October 18th, 1965.
Finally.
Sharon was sentenced to a 10-year prison term for the crimes
Stop it. 10 years?
in Mexico.
That's it?
When she was officially notified of the sentence the next day, she said that she would appeal her conviction and return to the women's prison to serve her sentence. That's where she was nicknamed La Pistolera, the gunfighter, a nickname subsequently adopted by the Mexican press. It seems like Sharon was finally getting hers when her appeal did not get overturned because it didn't overturn her sentence, it lengthened it.
Oh.
The 3-man superior court in which heard her case overturned one aspect of her conviction, the charge of attempted robbery. So it actually added time, and it took her sentence from 10 to 13 years, saying that the original sentence was far too lenient. So it's funny that you said that. Now, you think this is where it all ends, right?
No. No, I don't. Not with Sharon.
Because Sharon escapes prison.
She escapes? Okay, I didn't see that one coming.
On December 7th, 1969, though Sharon was not present for a routine 5 p.m. roll call, it wasn't until she failed to show up at a second roll call later that evening that anyone really knew that she was missing. The news of her disappearance was not reported to Mexico City police until 2 a.m. the following morning. A manhunt, or woman hunt, began to find Sharon Kinne. American authorities, including the FBI, were also alerted. Initial police speculation was that Sharon may have bribed guards to look the other way when she escaped the prison. But further questioning of prison guards and administration showed that there was an oversight at the prison because it was generally lax and they had fewer guards than they were supposed to have. Many theories circulated, but by December 18th, the Mexican Secret Service and the Mexico City District Attorney's Office were both reporting that they were no longer involved in searching for the escaped prisoner. Investigators speculated that she may have crossed over the border from Mexico into Guatemala, and at this point, she was fluent in Spanish and would do well in any Spanish-speaking country. Despite vowing to keep the case open and the investigation running until Sharon Kinne was back in custody, by the end of December 1969, authorities were forced to admit that they had run out of investigative leads to pursue. 50 years go by.
Just like how many bullets she had.
Sharon remained at large. The trail went cold until law enforcement got a tip on December 2023.
What?
Yeah.
Like 2023. Oh my God.
Oh, it's even crazier. Through that tip, authorities were able to confirm that Sharon Kinne had died of natural causes on January 21st, 2022 in Alberta, Canada, where she had been going by the name of Deidre Glabus. They had been able to identify her on May 31st, 2024 by fingerprints that the funeral home had taken. All pending charges against her in both the U.S. and Mexico were dropped. The U.S. authorities publicly announced all of these findings on January 17th, 2025.
Wow.
Just this year.
Wow.
That makes a total of 65 years since the death of James Kinne. And we still don't know about that first supposed husband in Washington State that went over a cliff. We don't know anything about that.
We know. We know Sharon pushed him.
I mean, I can't. I am almost done. Come on now. I would love nothing more than to sit across the table from her, and I would love to pick her brain, said Sergeant Dustin Love at the Jackson County Sheriff's Office in Kansas City, Missouri. I knew you would love that.
Well,
Autumn's partner's name is Dustin.
Yeah.
So during a news conference, he also continued by saying, so yeah, it's unfortunate that we couldn't catch her when she was still alive. She was really good at what she did. Her family was notified, and they said that they were glad to have some closure. The investigation showed that she married twice more over the years, including in 1970 when she married a man named Jim Glabus in Los Angeles. She and Jim moved to Canada in 1973. They had one son. After Jim Glabus died in 1979 at the age of 38, and they checked for alcoholism and complications to diabetes, she did not kill this one.
So she says.
So she was going by a different name. So D is what the name she was going by. She was left out of his will and fought it in court. This is a quote from
balls on this woman.
This is a quote from one of her friends in Canada. We all just felt so sorry and wanted to help her, said a neighbor who told of quilting, playing bridge, and Dee's famous banana bread. Friends and neighbors said that they had no clue that they had been hanging out all these years with a serial killer. A few years after Jim Glabus' death, Dee, Sharon, married a man named Willie L. The pair were together for 30 years until L's death in 2011 at the age of 79.
How does this woman have so many men marry her?
Crime Stoppers are still looking to fill in those gaps of her travels from after her prison escape. If you have any information, do give them a call. Not only are the victims' families affected by this, but so are Sharon Kinne's families, said Captain Rhonda Montgomery of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. There was also a statement by one side of her family that read, Sharon was a woman that never faced the consequences for her action, leaving them for her children to deal with. She caused great harm without thought or remorse. I swear I'm just about done here, but I want to share a quote from Sharon Kinne to Kevin Kelligan, a reporter of the Kansas City Star who interviewed her in 1969 after she had already spent 5 years in prison. She told him the guards were very wary of her. And she said, you know, one of the reasons why I can do just about anything I please is because they're all a little afraid of me. She said, they're afraid of all the women convicted of murder.
Oh my God.
Sharon Kinne was the subject of one of the longest currently outstanding warrants for murder in the Kansas City area and one of the longest outstanding felony warrants in U.S. history. The case is officially closed. My sources were Murderpedia, the podcast Morbid, CBS News, the Kansas City Police, the CBC News, and the Kansas City Star.
Oh my God.
I know. That's why I was like,
woman.
It's crazy long. It's crazy long, but my God, this woman.
There's a lot of connections in ours.
And when I was listening to Morbid and when I tried to find other podcasts, no one has covered it since they found her. So everyone's cases are unsolved, that she was just still out on the run. But I found out.
But here at Murder Not Murdering,
we're on top of it, folks.
Have solved cases sometimes.
We caught the killer. Well, we didn't, but we found the information. So yeah. Can you believe that? 65 years from the time that she murdered her husband.
That's wild.
And then she murdered Patricia Jones, and then she murdered the guy in Mexico, and then shot Enrique. Like, it's insane.
She's one for the history books.
And the question is, what else did she do during that big gap that no one knows?
Murdered more people, I'm sure.
Very possibly. No one knows.
The woman couldn't stop. She was like marrying people. Her hobbies were marrying men and murdering people.
Yep. Isn't that crazy? On. And the fact that she got acquitted, mistrials, four trials just for James Kinne, and then she never really had to stand for all of that. It's insane. That's why I had to do it. It was so good. I had to do it. Anyway, on with your story.
Ours is very similar. Just kidding. It's not similar, but there are some connections.
My God. I was like, what?
It's when I start talking, you'll understand.
Okay.
But I'm just going to get into this one, okay?
Go for it.
And I named my case
Ooh.
The Fatal Dose, the Elizabeth Barlow case.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So today, I'm going to be covering a case that is truly chilling and historic. One that marked the first time a specific method of murder was ever documented. A method so quiet, so undetectable at the time, that it might have gone unnoticed forever, if not for one observant forensic pathologist and a very tight timeline.
Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
You solved it. What's the point of reading it at this point? We're talking about the 1957 murder of Elizabeth Barlow in Bradford, Yorkshire, and how her husband, Kenneth Barlow, tried to pull off what he thought would be the perfect crime.
In England, then.
Mm-hmm. It's international, which is your thing.
No, I love
and
this.
It's from 1957.
These are all my favorite things.
Yes, it is. It's the night of May 4th, 1957. Kenneth Barlow, a 38-year-old registered nurse, though unemployed at the time, calls his family doctor a little after 11 p.m. He says he found his wife, Elizabeth, unconscious in their bathtub. Elizabeth was only 32 years old. She'd been married to Kenneth for just 11 months, and the two were living with his 10-year-old son from a previous marriage. What no one knew yet was that Elizabeth was around 8 weeks pregnant at the time. When the doctor arrived at the house, it didn't take long to confirm the worst. Elizabeth was already dead. At around 2 a.m., forensic pathologist Dr. David Price was called to the scene. Kenneth told him he'd found Elizabeth submerged in the tub and that he'd tried to lift her out, then drained the water and attempted resuscitation. Police arrived and began asking questions. Kenneth said that earlier that evening, Elizabeth had tea around 5 p.m., then said she was tired and went to bed. He joined her a few hours later, around 9:30, and noticed she had thrown up. They changed the sheets, she changed into clean pajamas, and then, apparently, took them off again, saying she was too hot and wanted a bath. He claimed he fell asleep to the sound of the running water, then woke up around 11:20 to find she still hadn't come to bed. That's when he says he found her submerged in the tub. According to Kenneth, he couldn't lift her out of the tub, so he held her head above water, drained the tub, and tried to press on her stomach to revive her. When she didn't respond, he ran next door to call the doctor. Now you might wonder why he didn't call from his own house.
Yeah.
Turns out most people in 1950s England didn't have home phones unless they were wealthy. So that checks out. But there's a lot else that doesn't.
Yeah.
When Dr. Price examined the scene, two things immediately stood out. First, death by drowning at home in a bathtub is extremely rare, especially for a healthy 32-year-old woman.
That doesn't make sense.
Second, there was a small cup full of water, about 110 milliliters, still pooled in the crook of Elizabeth's arm, which had been resting against the tub. That water shouldn't have still been there if Kenneth had tried to move or resuscitate her.
Yeah.
It suggested her body had been barely disturbed. Police started searching the home. They found 2 vomit-stained pillowcases, a sweat-soaked pair of women's pajamas, and, notably, used syringes in the kitchen.
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm. But they didn't find any injectable medications to go with them.
Because they were used.
Yeah. Elizabeth's autopsy began just 3.5 hours after her body was found. Incredibly fast, even by today's standards.
Thank God, though.
Dr. Price found dilated pupils and blood-tinged froth in her nose, mouth, and throat. Her lungs were heavy, congested, and waterlogged. She had fluid retention and internal hemorrhaging, all pointing clearly to drowning.
Also, sorry, her husband was a nurse. Why wouldn't he have
Yes.
been able to resuscitate her?
Girl, I don't know. And why couldn't he pull her out of the bathtub?
For real.
I mean, hello. Samples were sent to toxicologist Dr. Ann Curry. They tested for common poisons and even illegal abortion-inducing substances, but found nothing. Still, Dr. Price and Dr. Curry believed she might have been unconscious before she was submerged. The sweating, dilated pupils, and vomiting pointed to something else. Perhaps insulin.
Oh.
And with the syringes found at the house, that theory became more plausible. Insulin wouldn't show up in the standard poison tests of the time. On May 8th, just a few days later, Elizabeth's body was re-examined under bright light. 2 injection sites were found, one on each buttocks. Samples were sent to a drug company that manufactured insulin. Even though the samples were tiny, Dr. M.R. Gerd found traces of insulin. 84 units to be exact.
God.
That's enough for 2 diabetic patients for an entire day.
Whoa.
Elizabeth, of course, was not diabetic.
No, and her husband was a fucking nurse, so he knew what he was doing.
Police went back to Kenneth. When asked about the injections, he said, okay, yes, he'd injected Elizabeth with ergometrine, a drug used to induce labor and sometimes illegally used as an at-home induction for abortion. But the syringes held no traces of ergometrine, only insulin. And Elizabeth's body had already been tested for ergometrine, with none found. Another lie.
Yep.
Some sources say Kenneth had been giving Elizabeth ergometrine regularly to try to end the pregnancy, and that he switched to insulin the night she died. He likely gave her enough to make her drowsy or unconscious, then administered more before placing her in the tub. And let's be real, if he could get her into the tub,
He could get her
have
out.
pulled her out.
Yeah.
His story doesn't add up.
No.
Further testing confirmed it. Elizabeth had been injected with insulin, rendered unconscious, and then drowned. Kenneth was arrested for murder. The prosecution anticipated he might claim Elizabeth had injected herself, perhaps intending to die by suicide. But the location of the injections made that impossible. To seal the deal, a coworker from Kenneth's former hospital came forward. Kenneth had once told them he'd saved Elizabeth from collapsing in the bath months earlier. And over the last 2 years, he'd talked about how insulin could be used to kill someone without leaving a trace.
You're kidding me.
I mean, he's super smart.
It's like before you have like a search engine, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. On December 3rd, 1957, Kenneth Barlow was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Now, as you probably know, a life sentence in England doesn't necessarily mean life behind bars. Kenneth served 26 years and was released in 1984, still claiming his innocence. But the facts don't lie, and what started as a case of suspicious drowning became the first documented case of murder by insulin injection. Kenneth likely thought Elizabeth would die quietly in bed, her death blamed on miscarriage or illness. But placing her in the tub might have been a last-minute decision, and it's what ultimately got him caught. The speed at which police arrived, the quick autopsy, and Dr. Price's sharp eye made all the difference. even a few more hours had passed, that insulin may have broken down and gone undetected, and Kenneth might have walked free.
That's wild.
And if my listeners didn't know, I'm a diabetic. So this was something that I found extremely interesting. And I was like, let me see if there's any cases about like insulin or diabetics. And I'm like, okay, the first one that ever happened, someone killed somebody using insulin.
Yeah.
Documented at least. And I'm like, and it's old timey. I'm like,
perfect.
Erin will love this story.
I do love this story.
And since yours was so long, mine was kind of short.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
It was
And
like,
so,
oh no.
With that, my sources, which Wikipedia was not one of them this time, were National Library of Medicine, Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine, Chemistry World, Sage Journals, Regina versus Kenneth Barlow, and Time, plus a podcast called Luminol, which I got a lot of information from. They were really awesome.
That's great.
And that's my story. Just in time for a motorcycle to ride on by.
It's sometimes it's hard to find sources with really older murders.
Yes, it is. And there's not very many pictures either. So I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be visually stimulating, but
that's all right. It was mentally stimulating, and that's what matters.
I just was like, this is insane. The fact he was not counting on them having her autopsied so fast.
No, I don't think he thought. I think he thought they would just go, oh, it was an accidental death and move on.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you.
But good for them. That's fast autopsy, smart doctors.
Yeah,
this is all great.
Smart to even think of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I did too.
All right, folks. Well, we are going to post some pictures and information.
There are a couple pictures
on our Instagram page. So do follow that at Murder Not Murdering.
Do. We're trying really hard to get more engagement on Instagram.
Yes, and more listeners. So tell your friends. Do tell your friends because it's really helpful for us. And we're going to be back next week with new episodes always coming out on Mondays.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.